Tell us what it means to you to be the vice skipper this year.
Yeah, it really does mean a lot, pal. I'm pretty honoured to get it. I'm quite shocked to get it. There's some really big names in this team and some good leaders. But yeah, like I said, I'm really happy. My family are really proud of me as well, which means a lot.
You say you're shocked. Did you not see it coming?
I like to think I'm a leader. Yeah. Rad sort of spoke to me 4 or 5 weeks ago saying that it were an option, and then I sort of from then just sort of knuckled down and really tried to get it. But he told me, like I said last week, so to actually get over the line and get it were lovely.
What about this season, and how optimistic do you feel as a group?
Yeah, we're quietly confident, mate. We're not going to come out and shout from the rooftops of how well we're going to do and things like that. That's all sort of kept in house. We obviously know that the competition's strong this year. The teams have strengthened up pretty well. We're going to have to perform at its best every week in order to churn out results. But I think momentum's a massive thing in sport, and I think how we start this first couple of weeks is really going to determine, this first block of the season. So our real focus is on performance and getting a couple of tough wins in this first sort of 4 or 5 games. We've got a pretty tough start, so just knuckling down and trying to perform in them.
How ready do you feel for this first match?
Yeah, you always feel ready, mate, for the games to come round. For pre-season to be over. I feel like we're getting somewhere. I feel like we started and the ball were rolling quite slowly, and we were just sort of getting to grips with a lot of things, putting a lot of things together. But I feel like as combinations are coming now, we're getting a lot of cohesion in the team where people are finding out what other people do well, and it's really complementing each other. So another thing we've got going really well is a team spirit at the minute. We feel a really close-knit team. You can see that on the training field. You can see that off the field. So that's always a big help for trying to perform on the field.
Something you've seen that we haven't yet is Miller and Widdop combining. What's that looked like? How much promise is there from what you've seen so far?
Yeah, massive. I think when you can get Gaz and Milky playing together and playing well, their record that they've done in the past speaks for itself. The two excellent players that you don't really fancy playing against because they can outsmart you and they can guide a team round on their own. So to get them two playing together, it's really exciting for us, and hopefully we can keep them fit and keep them playing well.
What about that pack that you're part of now? How formidable is that cast pack this year?
Yeah, it's great. We've got a good mix of sort of powerful big fellas that can ramp us forward, and we've got a mix of really skillful lads that can dance around and play as well. So it's sort of a little bit of both, a little bit of both sides that can be sort of surprising in a way as well. So it's not just the battering rams, it's the offload game and things like that we can bring to the table as well, which is exciting.
What about Hull? What do you expect to get from them on Sunday?
Yeah, Hull, they're always a big side. It's always a tough task, especially when you go there. You get their crowd, they get their crowd behind them, and their big boys seem to run even harder and things like that. So we know it's going to be a physical challenge. Probably going to try and come straight through the front door, but we've just got to be up for it and try and match that if we can.
And just you've been in the game a fair few years now, Mel. Just give us an insight into the sort of emotions that go through a player's head just before the season starts.
Yeah, it's tough. You're obviously training, and when you're doing pre-season and you're training, the physical side of it's hard, but there's not really any pressure of playing. There's a lot of toll on your mind when you're playing. The day before you're thinking about it. The day of the game you're really nervous. It takes over all your thoughts. It's about trying to control them. If you've played bad, then it results in your weekends pretty low because you're thinking about it and things like that. So there's a lot of ups and downs that come with the season. So getting prepared for that's obviously quite tough. Your training obviously tapers off and life becomes a bit easier. You've only really got 80 hard physical minutes in the week, but the mental side of it really ramps up. So it's sort of preparing for that and trying to keep your mind focused on performance and things like that rather than letting nerves and the sort of anxiety of it take over.
And just lastly for me, it's not the be all and end all, but if you could get that win first up on Sunday, what would that do for the group?
Yeah, it'd be massive. I think it just sort of solidify how well we've gone in pre-season, and it puts to bed any sort of ghosts that you've got and things like that. So, like I said, our focus is on week in, week out. So, whoever we're playing that week is our focus. Not too bothered about the bigger picture. And like you said, to get off to a good start would be fantastic.
Sort of hinted at it a bit before. You the sort of person or player, or maybe even the team that sort of breaks the season down into smaller chunks, like instead of like tackling it as a 27-game season, you sort of look at it in blocks of like 4 or 5.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe not even 4 or 5 for me. It's more sort of just the week we've got coming and the opponents we're playing that week, rather than looking at the big picture. I think things can get a little bit confusing, and you can add stress to yourself that you don't really need to add. So for me, it's more breaking it down into individual games more than anything else.
Yeah, because the bigger picture can sort of see you get distracted from what's in front of you, can't it?
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Obviously, you're being vice captain now. Is your sort of leadership something that you've worked on? Is it something that's come naturally? Because given you've been talking to players that have been there, seen it, and done it, and been captains at other clubs as well, is that something you've worked on yourself, or is that something that's come fairly naturally?
No, I don't think you sort of work on it. I think you sort of see traits of leaders that you've been under before and things like that, and how they went about the business, and you sort of try and emulate them. So a real standout for me were Ryan Hinchcliffe when I was at Huddersfield. He was he spoke when he had something really important to say, and everybody stopped and listened to him, and he led with his actions. So there's traits of players that I can sort of pick up and go along with. I don't think you have to sort of train yourself into it. You just watch and try and copy them and take little bits from each player. So that's the way I'm going about it.
And you mentioned it before, the team spirit of the club. Again, is that something that's come fairly natural? Because you've had like a turnover of players and new faces coming through and things like that. So is the team spirit something that's come fairly natural? Is it something you've sort of actively gone out to enhance?
It's a good question. I'm not sure, because the first couple of weeks we didn't really have the cohesion in the team, and it sort of felt a little bit sort of forced. But then I suppose the more you force it, the more you get used to it, and then it starts to come naturally. So now it's all just come natural, and everybody's used to each other. Everybody's spent enough time together that's the way it's sort of panned out, which is good.
Just a quick one, mate. And if you don't want to talk about it, let me know. But you've always had a great week with the vice captaincy, but I know that last week was a really upsetting week for a lot of people with Zach, who were a close friend of you. I just wondered if there was if he was going to be a motivation for you this year, an added one after his passing.
Yeah, it's obviously a hard subject. I obviously lost my mate last week, which is tough. But obviously played with him when I was younger, and he's been one of his close mates ever since. He's obviously a massive part of it. I'll be having his name on my wrist when I play. He obviously meant a lot to me, and it's not nice. It's something that I suppose not everybody sort of knows about, and you sort of, when you come to training, you sort of mask it and hide it, sort of thing. And then when you go away and you're on your own, it's quite tough. I sort of struggled the first couple of days, but I had to come training. But sort of putting a brave face on and acting happy, I suppose. It's a bit of a bluff. And that's how you sort of I'm getting my way through it. You're sort of bluffing your way through and putting a smile on, and all of a sudden, a week, 10 days down the line, your fake smile sort of becomes a real smile again. So, yeah, Zach's definitely a part of my start.
That's a lovely tribute with the wrist tape. It's hard to know really what to say about in times like this, but it's obviously going to be try to turn a terrible negative into a positive for you over the course of the year.
Yeah, and I think you look at how many people, just to pay tribute to Zach, like the amount he did in the community game. He's a bloke that broke his hand the same time as me. He broke his carpal there in his hand, and it all went wrong. And he's been in a pot for 5 years, and he's managed to stay positive with it. Still helped out, still coached junior rugby all through his life. One of them things where it's so unfortunate. So yeah, for me to pay tribute to him will be massive. Yeah, absolutely.
just a quick one, Alex. Has Paul McShane given you any advice on what to do in case he's indisposed as captain? Anyone you have to keep an eye out on the field to keep them in check?
He just told me to shave his head and I'll be a better captain, something like that. Nah, to be fair to Maka, he's a really good role model. Whether he means to be or not, he's a person that I can watch and I can learn a lot from. And that's what I'll be doing. Like I said before, I can pick traits off different people and sort of mould my leadership into how I want to be, and I'll definitely be doing that with Maka.